Welcome, everybody. Glad you could join us tonight. Welcome to the December meeting of the nonprofit Plant-Based Nutrition Organization of Wisconsin, or PB Now. I'm your host, Terry Lynch. The mission of our nonprofit group is to educate, inspire, and support each other on an evidence-backed, whole plant food-based nutritional path for health and improved quality of life. Our group is open to everyone, those plant-based and those just curious about it. It's meant to be a non-judgmental place for people to come get information, inspiration, and support. If you'd like more information about our group, our upcoming meeting dates, speakers and resources, or to check out videos of our past meetings, just Google us at pbnow.org. That's pbnow.org. As we do each time, can I see a show of hands of those who are currently following a plant-based lifestyle, or the thumbs up icon on your reactions button? Yep, hands going up and thumbs coming up. That's great. It's a little over a third, close to a half. As we mentioned at the beginning of each meeting, the evidence of the benefits of plant-based nutrition in improving health and quality of life for people of all ages, as published in non-biased medical research, is quite striking. Whether it's improving health through increased energy, weight loss, preventing, slowing, stopping, or reversing problems like allergies, digestive problems, diabetes, heart disease, and early dementia, or increasing our quality of life by helping us feel better relatively quickly, strengthening our immune system, increasing our endurance, improving athletic performance, speeding recovery from exercise, reducing joint pain, clearing thinking, or reducing the physical, emotional, and financial side effects of the illnesses, drugs, and procedures often recommended to treat the conditions plant-based nutrition can help us avoid. The research shows that our bodies do a wonderful job of healing themselves if we stop damaging them daily with poor nutrition and give them the nutrition they need to heal and function optimally. It's truly remarkable. Now, let me tell you what's in store for you tonight. Tonight, we're going to hear from 4 speakers and see a video or 2, or maybe even 3, depending on time. First, we'll hear some comments from our PB Now Medical Director, Dr. Joshua Liberman. Next, we'll see a video or 2 or 3. Following the videos, we'll hear about eating plant-based on a budget, first from Esselstyn Foundation Executive Director Brian Hart, and then we'll be joined for cooking demonstration by Ann and Jane Esselstyn. Our program should end at 7:30, and as a reminder, we have meetings every month on the second Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock Central Time. Next month, we'll have Maryland physician and author Dr. Joe T. Rao. We'll be posting more information about our upcoming meetings on our website at pbnow.org. And if you register on the website, you'll receive email reminders of our events as they approach. We try not to send too many emails out. A quick technical note, during the meeting, everyone but the speakers will be muted. And we ask that you stay muted to avoid background noise and allow everyone to hear the speakers. We use the chat box for questions and maybe unmute during the 10-20 minute Q&A at the end. All right, here we go. Our first speaker tonight is a fellowship-trained cardiologist. He is president and CEO of Wisconsin Cardiology Associates. He is past president and current trustee of the Wisconsin chapter of the American College of Cardiology. He's a member of the American College of Cardiology's National Nutrition Lifestyle Work Group, whose membership includes nationally known physicians such as Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, and Dr. Neil Bernard. He's an advocate for the use of plant-based nutrition to help improve heart health, general health, and quality of life, and has seen the benefits of plant-based nutrition in both his personal life and that of his patients. We're fortunate to have him here in Milwaukee as our PB Now Medical Director. And by the way, as I mentioned last month, a number of you have emailed me asking for information about Dr. Liberman's new practice. Now that it's nearing its January opening, I've asked Dr. Lieberman to begin his talk by briefly passing on information about his new practice and its location and contact information. And maybe Dr. Lieberman, if you can put the contact info in the chat box when you finish, that would be great. So I'm happy to welcome Dr. Joshua Lieberman. Dr. Lieberman.
All right. As usual, Terry, I appreciate, sometimes it seems like you're the only fan in my fan club, but I appreciate it. Or maybe the number one fan, I'll call it. But yeah, thanks again. As always, I love being part of this. And yeah, thanks to everybody who's had patience with me. Some of you on this call are patients of mine. I appreciate you. I know I haven't been in practice in a while. It's been an uphill slog to try to stand up a practice. I'm not trying to play a little violin here, but lots of barriers to creating a practice that's not part of the corporate healthcare system, unfortunately, in this day and age. But we are set to open January 17th in Mequon on Port Road, just basically across from the movie theater, the Marcus movie theater that's in Mequon on the west side of Port Road. There's a Metro Market right around there too. We're getting the office set up, getting equipment delivered and training staff and doing all those fun kinds of things. But we'll be up and running with a private independent cardiology practice that takes insurance, but is focused on lifestyle and is focused on supporting people getting healthier, getting themselves healthier through lifestyle change, especially with plant-based diets, but with everything that's involved in that. So hopefully for something that's different, that's not common in the community, and hopefully something that will resonate and that a lot of people will find and get some useful information out of. I'm happy to put in the contact information in the chat box. Of course, I hope I'm not just part of this organization and not just the medical director, simply to get you guys to come to my medical practice. But if anybody out there has a heart related issue and they want somebody who's coming at it from a plant-based and lifestyle kind of mindset, would love to see you in the office.
Dr. Lieberman, just wanted to mention one thing too. In critical situations and that type of thing, you have hospital privileges at which hospital still?
Yeah, thank you. I guess as a doctor, I kind of take advantage. I take for granted that I know these things and don't know necessarily the questions that you or others might have. Yeah, so I still have privileges at Ascension. And so I can still take care of patients there, and I can still admit my patients there if they need if they were to need a procedure or something like that. But I'll also be getting privileges at Aurora, specifically the Aurora Grafton facility. And so my aim is that I can really put myself out there as a free agent, not beholden to any one system or another. So if I feel that somebody needs to be in the hospital system for whatever reason, I can make sure that they go to the one that I think they're best at. And the different hospital systems for sure have different strengths. Some might be good at some set of procedures, where others may be good at other sets of procedures. So as I said, I'm hoping to be out there just as an advocate for my patients, regardless of where they need to go. I'm going to try to get them to the right place, but hopefully the right place is just in my office, talking to them and working through them with working through their problems and seeing what we can do, just the two of us, or just that kind of thing. So yeah, thanks for asking that. As most of the people on this call know, I like to talk about a patient situation that came up, just to kind of highlight the benefits of plant-based health, as well as some recent literature. And it's funny, I haven't actually seen any patients now in a little bit of time, but just today. So I don't know if you caught the beginning of the conversation, but I'm in Madison. I have some friends who are on the cardiology team at Madison, and unfortunately, one of the cardiologists had a family emergency and couldn't come in. So they reached out to me. It's not so easy to do. You do a lot of credentialing and a lot of hoops you have to jump through. But I was able to get all that done, and so I came out to Madison to be a doctor again for a little bit, just to help out. And so today was I just got here this morning, and had some patients in the office, and sure enough, the fourth patient I saw was this very very obese woman who's 40 pounds, and she's down to actually, about 400 pounds now. 40 pounds the last 3 months, going plant-based. Like, so I had never talked, it's just funny. Madison doesn't necessarily know me as a plant-based guy. They didn't plan for this to be, in my office or anything like that. But this woman, actually the doctor that I'm replacing just temporarily, evidently had been a proponent and had been recommending it to her as a way to control some of her medical problems, sleep apnea, atrial fibrillation, some other stuff. And she took his advice to heart, pardon the pun, and has had tremendous success with completely with being 100% vegan, plant-based. And so we talked about it. I gave her obviously tons of encouragement. She's feeling much better. I mean, her weight is down 10% in just 3 months. The atrial fibrillation is not bothering her. We talked about actually starting to actually, and she's nowhere near her ultimate goals, but we started talking about getting her off of some medications. She really wanted to be off of some, and so we talked about which ones we could do. But it was just really, it was amazing on multiple levels. One is that, as I said, I hadn't been seeing patients in a couple months. And that's what I'm in. I miss seeing patients, frankly. I don't want to be dealing with retirement plans and pension plans and benefits and all that stuff. I'm doing all that stuff I'm trying to do to create a business. But I want to get back to seeing patients. And sure enough, the first day I get to do it, I get to see a wonderful story of someone who's getting tremendous benefit from moving to a much healthier lifestyle. So that was just, again, pardon the pun, it was just really, really heartwarming to me to see that. And it just, kind of restokes the fire that I have for patient care and for being out there taking care of people and helping them, guiding them on their paths to better heart health. So that's a patient story for you. In terms of the research, we can always talk about, I like to talk about things a little bit on the margins. We could talk about all the different studies that show plant-based health is better for, stroke prevention or diabetes prevention, all these things, but you guys have heard all those, and there's not, it's just variations of the same stuff that keeps coming out. But 2 studies came out in the last 2 weeks that I thought were a little bit interesting for slightly related reasons. One is because it was looking specifically at something that's near and dear to my practice. One of my pet peeves is the use of sodium, right? And many of the people on this call, if you've been on multiple if you've been at multiple meetings, know I've talked to you guys about the role of sodium in diet, and talk about all the different studies. But again, here was another study that came out looking specifically at the role of sodium, and it was specifically looking at the effects of adding salt to food. So not just the salt that's naturally in food, or the salt that's added in the processing, but this is adding salt at the dinner table, which again, you can imagine is not going to be a good thing. But here's actual data that looked at it. It was a study using it was a very large study using the well-known database that's called the UK Biobank, obviously based in the United Kingdom. So it was almost 200,000 adults are in this kind of database, and they're updating surveys all the time. They're answering questions all the time. They have laboratory data on them. They have some genetic data. These are all people, obviously, that willingly consented to having their information be part of the research. But 176,000 people, and they looked at how many of these patients had strokes, how many of these patients had heart failure, how many of these patients had heart attacks and whatnot, and then traced it back to what these patients reported about what their diet types were like, and whether or not they frequently added salt at the dinner table, or I guess the groups were usually added, sometimes added, or never/rarely added. And compared to the group of people that always added salt to food, patients that rarely or never added it had about a 23% lower risk of one of these bad things happening, like the heart failure, the stroke, heart attack, that kind of stuff. So again, if you think about all the things we can do in medicine, there aren't a lot of things that give you a 20 or 30% reduction in a bad outcome, right? There's a lot of medicines that can do that. But boy, you know, if you can equal a medicine just by doing something in your lifestyle, if you can have the equivalent effect of a medicine just by doing something in your lifestyle, I think that that is supremely powerful. And so that was looking at one thing that we add to diets that is not really helpful. This past week, a study came out looking at micronutrients and antioxidants used as supplements, right? A lot of people are huge fans of supplements. Again, my personal take on it is that we probably don't need supplements if you're eating a truly healthy plant-based diet. If you're eating, you know, all the different colors of the rainbow, there's tons of antioxidants in that stuff. This was a meta-analysis looking at all the different studies of quote unquote antioxidants. So this included studies that looked at curcumin and flavanol and melatonin and lycopene and coenzyme Q10 and alpha lipoic acid and selenium and magnesium and folic acid and L-arginine and omega-3s and omega-6s and all these different things. And what it did was it said that some of these truly do probably help health. Specifically, the omega-3s. Now there are there are vegan sources of omega-3 out there. Flaxseed is a potential source of omega-3. Coenzyme Q10 looked to be somewhat beneficial in a lot of these studies, and some of these other antioxidants. And you'll hear from the Esselstyn family that all the wonderful natural antioxidants and the L-arginine that naturally comes with eating lots of leafy green vegetables is probably the better way to do it. And frankly, I agree with them. I think that there's no question in my mind that the best way to get all these antioxidants is through a whole foods plant-based diet that has, as I said, all the colors of the rainbow. You're getting the deep reds and the purples and the blues and the oranges, and you're going to get a lot of this stuff. But it's just the kind of the dichotomy between the different things you can add to a diet that have different effects on your health, right? You add some antioxidants to your diet, health benefit. You add salt to your diet, health, detriment, right? And so it was just the kind of the dichotomy or the juxtaposition maybe of those two things in two studies that came out in the last week and a half or so really was just striking to me of the power that diet has on our health, right? It can worsen our health and it can improve our health. And it's really up to us, the choices that we make and what we put into our bodies, and our health can really dramatically, improve based on that. So with that, thank you all for being here, and let's get on with the other speakers.
Dr. Luhrmann, thank you so much. And salt, it's just amazing. It's on just about every restaurant table, I think. And we went out a couple nights ago, and I know there were a couple people at the table pass the salt. So it's something that you need to keep aware of. Our featured presentation tonight is titled "Eating Plant-Based on a Budget." And to begin the presentation, we're going to hear from Esselstyn Foundation Executive Director Brian Hart, and then we'll be joined by Ann and Jane Esselstyn. Brian Hart is the Executive Director of the Esselstyn Family Foundation, and he's an experienced educator with over 25 years in the field as a teacher, administrator, and consultant. He's also a former plant-based chef. While not educating others about the benefits of whole food plant-based nutrition, he's a committed ultra endurance athlete with, this is amazing to me, 4 Ironman finishes to his name, among other run, bike, and ski events. I see he has his honey right next to him there.
Well, I wanted to say it's also his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday,
wow.
Brian.
So
Thank you.
So our demo is a part of our dinner.
Yeah, got to wait for dinner.
And I'll mention before Jane comes on, that was Jane, his wife, who was also quite an athlete. He'll be beginning tonight by talking to us about plant-based eating on a budget, and he'll be followed by his wife, Jane, and his mother-in-law, Ann, who will give us a plant-based eating on a budget cooking demonstration. It's a real pleasure to welcome Esselstyn Family Foundation Executive Director, Brian Hart. Brian?
All right. Thanks so much, Terry. Much appreciated. What a nice introduction. So
Happy
my name's Brian Hart. I'm the Executive Director of the Esselstyn Foundation. The Esselstyn Foundation is a 501c3 public charity that we formed about 3.5 years ago. And the reason we did it is we wanted to make sure that this information about whole food plant-based nutrition was available to everyone. We give all of our programming away for free. We never charge any money. And we partner with existing nonprofits all over the country and in some cases the world to get this plant-based message out to anybody who will listen. And so we're really excited about our work, and it means a lot to us on so many different levels. So tonight's presentation is called Whole Food Plant-Based or Eating Plant-Based on a Budget. And as you can imagine, especially with the rise of food prices in most recent months, this has become a very popular presentation that we've done, that we do with groups, because it just gets people really thinking about ways that they can save money. And there's, of course, a myth out there, as many of you know, that people often say, what's a major hurdle to going whole food plant-based? And people will say cost, which is just crazy to me. When we actually do the research and go out there and gather the numbers, we just find that that's not true at all. So let me go ahead and switch I'll share my screen here. Let's see.
Looks like it. There we go.
Does that look good, Terry? Can you see the whole screen? Is it on the whole screen?
You're in great. It looks great, Brian.
Excellent. All right. So before I started, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with kind of the Esselstyn approach. So I'm going to take just about 7 or 8 minutes to review what I call our 7 pillars of plant strong eating. And then I'll dive into the whole food plant-based on a budget. And then we'll get to the really great part of tonight's presentation, which is Ann and Jane Esselstyn, the YouTube sensations that they are. So I'm just going to whip through our 7 pillars here because some people may not be familiar with our work. So first off, if you cook down all of our guidelines into 5 things to remember, this is basically what it is, which is we don't recommend that anyone eat any meat. We don't recommend that anybody eat any dairy products. We are not fans of added oils, even though our friends who love the Mediterranean diet. And we remember the Mediterranean diet is a great step in the right direction, but you have to remember that research suggests that about 25% of people that have gone on Mediterranean diets will go on to have further cardiovascular events. And so as Dr. Esselstyn always says, he likes to win. He doesn't want to put his patients at risk. And so if 25% of those patients might go on to have another cardiovascular event, then he doesn't like that. So that's why he's not a fan of added oils. Minimal salt. We just, as Dr. Lieberman was just talking about, salt sneaks into our diet in so many different ways. So we say minimal salt and minimal sweeteners. Our favorite sweetener is maple syrup. And the stuff is so darn expensive. It also makes you really conserve what you're using. And so we're big fans of maple syrup. And that's generally our, other than maybe dates sometimes, really our only sweetener. All right. So pillar number 1 of our Plant Strong program is really to eat plants. I know if in many cases I'm preaching to the choir here, but just a quick reminder, we get everything we need from plants, all of our friendly proteins and unprocessed carbohydrates and essential fatty acids and almost every vitamin and mineral. As Dr. Lieberman was mentioning, we take B12 and D because we live in Cleveland where the sun never comes out. But otherwise, we don't have to take any other supplements. You get loads of phytonutrients and antioxidants and fiber and water from plants. And we also avoid all the nasty stuff, the saturated fats and the trans fats and the growth hormones, antibiotics and the concentrated pollutants and the materials that inflame our systems. Remember, the enemy of good health is inflammation. And so that we avoid that by steering clear of meat and dairy and eating as many plants as we can. We especially love leafy greens, as Dr. Lieberman mentioned. These are the powerhouse. They really are chock full of so many phytonutrients. And as Dr. Esselstyn often reminds us, they can actually improve endothelial function by increasing the amount of nitric oxide in your system. Pillar number 2, eat whole foods. We can't stress this enough. We really try to avoid when we work with clients or people that are coming to us for coaching, we say you got to learn how to read labels, and you really want to steer clear of stuff that's processed. We try to eat minimally processed foods and as close to their natural state as possible. So when we look, for instance, when we look at things that are made out of wheat, we want to look for words like rolled and whole and cracked or stone ground, which means they're 100% whole. We also love for anybody we work with to embrace all these amazing whole grains like brown rice and millet and quinoa and barley and polenta and all those other ones. We even suggest you avoid smoothies because, again, you're grinding up all that good fiber that your body needs, and you're slicing it up. And a lot of times smoothies can be calorie bombs. It can be a lot of calories hidden in a smoothie. And a lot of the people that we work with are often dealing with obesity issues. Pillar number 3, we want to try to avoid calorie dense foods. And so when we do our 7-day challenges, for instance, we want people to really choose things that are low in the calorie density scale. And I'll show you a graphic in a moment. The great news about eating low on the calorie density scale is that you can eat a lot of things and get completely satiated, be full, and you won't end up gaining weight because you're picking up a lot of water and fiber, but not a lot of hidden calories. And so that's why we focus on plant foods, fruit, veggies, whole grains, legumes. And so here's the chart from Jeff Novick, which many of you have probably seen. And you can see on the left side, we really want people to focus on eating those things low on the calorie density scale. Look at this. These are calories per pound on this chart. You can see vegetables, 100 calories per pound. That's a lot of vegetables that you would be eating and picking up only 100 calories. And so as you move up the calorie density scale, you can see why we try to avoid things like oil, because it's one of the most calorie dense foods you can eat, 120 calories per tablespoon. And so that's why another reason we focus on the low end of the calorie density scale, because we're a lot of people that are trying to lose weight. Pillar number 4 is this protein myth that you can't get enough protein on a plant-based diet. I'm sure many of you, if you are whole food plant-based, have been asked, where do you get your protein? Where do you get your protein? You know, the answer is that it's not a problem at all. Most American adults eat twice as much protein that they need. On a plant-based diet, it's easy to get 60 to 80 grams of protein throughout the day from foods like beans and legumes and nuts and broccoli and whole grains. There's protein in everything. So the whole concept of needing protein is just a complete myth. Here's a simple chart from Whole Foods. You can see things like lentils, 18 grams of proteins, black beans, 15 grams of protein. There's lots of protein in plant-based foods. And of course, as you may know from the research of Colin Campbell, that disease states, high protein diets are associated with disease states. Pillar number 5, we really want people to drink water. We really worry about and eat obviously whole natural foods versus drinking your calories. We want people to stick to water. Decaf coffee and tea are okay. And this is another calorie density issue. When we're coaching people, we really tell them to steer clear of all those things, all those liquids where they're probably picking up lots and lots of extra calories without even realizing it. And of course, they're not satiated by that. And so heavily sweetened tea and wine and beer and mixed drinks and fruit juice and soda and flavored waters and coffee and with cream and energy drinks and things like that are loaded with calories. We say avoid those because many adults in the United States are picking up 500, 600, 700 calories a day just on liquid things. And there's a great graphic here. You can see things like white wine, 180 calories, things like a can of Coke, 140 calories. You can pick up a lot of extra calories if you drink things other than water. Pillar number 6, we want to be really careful about the big 3, salt, sugar, and fat. As I'm sure you all know, all of us are addicted to salt, sugar, and fat. Our bodies are driven towards them through our pleasure pathway that drives us toward these things because we need these things to survive. But of course, in a world of abundance, in the modern world where we live today, salt, sugar, and fat is pumped into all the food that we eat so that we get addicted to it. And so many adults, as you may know, take in 30 to 50% of their daily calories from fat. We want to get that down much, much lower. We really want to read labels and avoid foods that are heavily sweetened, high in fat, and high in salt. And last but not least, our final pillar is to move your body. Any kind of movement, any kind of exercise is icing on the cake. This is going to really enhance all you're doing with your nutrition, speeds up your metabolism, and enhances your mood. So whatever activity you do, just choose it. Now, what happens when people do this for a week, when they follow our pillars for 1 week? We run these health immersions, as many of you may know, one in Sedona, Arizona, one in Asheville, North Carolina, Black Mountain, North Carolina. And often in 1 week, by just following those pillars, people's cholesterol will drop 26 points, their LDL cholesterol will drop 25 points, their triglycerides will drop 25 points, their blood pressure will drop 10 points. They'll drop about 3 pounds on average. We have some people who lose a lot more than that. And it's common for people on blood pressure and diabetes medications to reduce their dosages just in the matter of a few days. So this is how powerful a whole food plant-based diet is. So, and of course, you've probably seen Dr. Esselstyn's slides. The most important thing of all is that this diet is able to reverse disease, not just prevent it, but reverse it. And he's got the proof. So let's jump in on plant-based on a budget. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, this is something that we put together because a lot of people were reaching out to us on social media, just saying like, oh my gosh, food's getting so expensive. And so we put this together. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. So the question that we always get is, isn't whole food plant-based eating expensive? And of course it is if you eat 100% organic. If you have the money to do that, fantastic. Go for it. Organic is the optimal, but of course, most of us can't avoid to do that. And as Dr. Doug Lowell once reminded me in a talk that he gave, is that the chance of you developing some sort of disease because of eating non-organic food versus your chance of developing a lifestyle-related disease because you're just not eating enough vegetables is just totally skewed. That there's such a tiny, tiny chance of you developing some sort of problem because of non-organic produce, but your chance of developing a lifestyle-related disease is pretty high if you don't eat enough vegetables. So we say eat vegetables no matter if they're organic or not. If you can afford organic, great, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But just doing some basic research, a global marketing firm called Kantar found in a 2021 study that they did that grocery costs on a vegan diet are up to 40% lower than diets with meat. And of course, this is most likely because as you all know, we're basing so much of what we eat on what we would call staple products, things that are pretty cheap. The truth really is this, that there's so much information out there. If you do a couple of internet searches, these are just a handful of books that I came across in doing some research for this presentation. These are books that I found just, on Amazon, things like the 30-Minute Frugal Vegan, Vegan on a Budget, Plant-Based Diet Cookbook on a Budget, and then my favorite one, which is Tony Akamoto's Plant-Based on a Budget. And really, I encourage you all just to do a few internet searches. There's so much out there now. I think back to when Ann and Essie first went whole food plant-based back in the 80s, before the internet, before Whole Foods, how difficult it would have been to find recipes. These days, it's one search on the internet and you're going to find an amazing number of recipes that you can, of course, adjust depending on your liking and to avoid oils and things. But again, there's so much out there, and the numbers that these cookbooks put out there in terms of what someone can, the amount of money someone can eat on in a week are pretty amazing. One book claims $30 a week, one claims $50 a week, one claims $13 a day, and one claims about $80 per week for 2 people. So that's really, really cheap if you think about it, when you start doing the math and really breaking that down. And so that's what this presentation is going to really talk about. What are some of the things that you can do to really, really get your costs low? So the essential question, every good educational experience starts with the right question. And so the question is, how can we optimize nutritional health without breaking the bank, is really what we're trying to dive into here. So we have some basic guiding principles. We want to eat whole foods. We want to eat a wide variety of plant foods. As many of you, I'm sure, have read the research on the microbiome, the gut biome, and how important it is to eat a wide variety. As Dr. Lieberman mentioned too, you want to eat the rainbow, we always say. And that's really good for your microbiome. Your microbiome loves that. We want to eat foods as close to their natural state as possible. We want to minimize shopping trips, of course, to be as efficient as we can. We want to be time efficient. We want to make it easy. We actually have a presentation called Choice Architecture that we talk about trying to make the easiest choice, the right choice, the best choice. And so that's a whole separate presentation, but we want to spend as little as possible. $15 a day for 2 people, I think is a really, really, really doable goal. So here are our top 15 strategies for eating whole food plant-based on a budget. So strategy number 1, buy staples in bulk. I know many of you do this at times when Jane and I were really, really, really trying to pinch our pennies. We would actually go to Whole Foods and go to up to the service counter and buy 50-pound bags of oats and things like that and have them in our house. I felt like a horse, but we would do that sometimes to really save money. Here's just some basic research that I did. So here's 5 pounds of premium brown rice for $6. That's a really good price, $1.25 a pound. This was at Walmart, and this is good rice. This is high quality rice. 5-pound bag. Here is another Walmart. When we went out and did some research and took pictures and things. Here's Walmart's in-house brand, great value. You're getting, was it 8 pounds of pinto beans for $5.98. So another great buy. Sometimes buying the small 1-pound bags, buying a bunch of them is actually the cheapest. So here you have $1.34 for 1 pound of lentils, of green lentils. That's another Walmart purchase. So again, bulk. So strategy number 2 is that frozen foods rock. You may have heard this, but it begs to be repeated, which is that a lot of times frozen foods are actually higher in nutritional value than fresh foods because they're flash frozen at the point of harvest by the companies that are selling them. And so we love frozen foods. People often ask us, oh, you must only eat fresh organic food all the time. No, we eat tons of frozen berries, for instance. You can, and I'll show you in a moment, but we love our frozen berries. We love frozen broccoli, frozen cauliflower. So here is a triple berry blend, blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries. This is another Walmart purchase. This was the cheapest one we could find, $10 for 3 pounds of frozen berries. These are excellent for, I love them actually on my morning oatmeal, even when they're frozen. It's a little tough in the winter sometimes if you're trying to warm up, but frozen berries on hot oatmeal is excellent, excellent. Here's a 3-pound bag of blueberries for $7.48. That's a very good price. That'll last you a long time. 3 pounds. That's another Walmart purchase. And then here's a Costco purchase, Kirkland, which you probably all know is Costco's in-house brand, organic vegetables. So here's $7.59 for a 5.5-pound bag, which is a great price. So look for those frozen foods. They are, like I said, often better for you than fresh foods because they haven't sat in a truck and been transported across the country. Strategy number 3, look for those store brands, those in-house brands. As I mentioned, Kirkland brand, great value is Walmart. Wegmans has its own in-house brand. And of course, Trader Joe's. I can't say enough about Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's puts, hopefully you have a Trader Joe's near you. We have one here in Cleveland, and I never leave Trader Joe's in a bad mood because I feel like I get good food. And of course, you got to read labels and be careful, but they have lots of opportunities to eat whole food, plant-based, no added oil if you just look around. And their in-house brands are cheap. So look for those in-house brands. Number 4, seasonal shopping. Certainly, you've probably all noticed that we're kind of at the end of the berry season probably. Now, suddenly the price of berries is going to start going up. But for a while, they were, 2 containers for $3 or something like that. But yeah, you got to really try to be strategic about seasonal shopping. Squashes and all those things are really good right now. But of course, corn is starting to go out. So you won't see that for a while, or it'll be more expensive. Maybe you have to buy it frozen. And so, in the spring, here's an example. You can do a few internet searches and find lists of when to buy certain things. But of course, the spring is such a great time for certain kinds of vegetables, and you will find huge savings if you go to farmers markets. What a great way to save money too, because you can buy bulk, and often it's organic, and you'll get all the in-season stuff, and it'll be pretty cheap. So again, shop in season. Strategy number 5. I'm sure this isn't alien to many of you, but batch cooking and prepping, trying to prep ahead of time. And so what batch cooking means to us is prepping ahead of time just to save yourself time, but making extra all the time. So whenever maybe you're cooking some potatoes for dinner, throw in another bag on another tray and cook them and have them in the refrigerator. And so this will really save you money, I promise you, because it'll keep you from diving into to all the other stuff that maybe you've brought home that's maybe a little bit junkier, like pretzels, or it'll keep you on a healthier track, but it also will save you time and energy and money, because buying in bulk, of course, if you get a bunch of black beans on sale, we do this all the time. We often say, like, if we're watching our favorite TV show, we will often throw in whatever we're making, we'll make extra so that we have it for the week. And it really saves us a lot of time and energy and money. Here are the most common things that you can batch cook or prep: potatoes, sweet potatoes, roasted veggies, steamed veggies, rice and other whole grains, legumes, lasagna, burritos, stews, soups and chilies, sauces, chopped veggies, et cetera, et cetera. The sky's the limit. Some people are incredibly good at this. Strategy number 6, leftovers. This is kind of back to the one previous, which is batch cooking. Is having leftovers is the most efficient way. If you look at the way we eat in a week, you will find that leftovers are often a big part of our lunches, as we try to make extra for dinner and then just have the leftovers for lunch. Here is a 4-day meal plan for our household. And I love to show this. The reason I only give you 4 instead of 7 is because really we repeat a lot of things. Even though Jane is a cookbook author, often when it's just the 2 of us, if we have 3 kids, 2 in college and 1 out of college, but we're empty nesters. And so a lot of times we keep it so simple, and we don't make complex recipes because we want to make it easy, and we don't want to take too much time and energy, and we want to save money. Leftovers are often a big part of our lunches, and sometimes our dinners. A big thing of chili can last us 3 days. But you'll notice oatmeal for breakfast every day in some version, form or fashion, sort of open-faced sandwiches for lunch or leftovers, and then bowls, Buddha bowl, maybe a chili bowl, Indian bowl, Southwest bowl. We're piling in lots of different things into our bowl just to get as much nutrition as we can. And Ann and Jane will talk about that tonight. Number 7, don't worry about organic. As I mentioned before, Carl Winter, director of the Food Safe program and an extension food toxicologist at UC Davis, has a great quote: "The best thing you can do for yourself is to eat lots of fruits and veggies and grains, and eat a variety. From my perspective, it doesn't matter whether they are organic or conventional." So you're going to spend a lot more money if you buy organic. If you can afford it, awesome. Most of us can't. We can. Number 8, buy vegetables that last. This is something that Jane and I kind of stumbled into later in our lives, but we realized that there are certain veggies that will last literally forever. And it's sort of shocking, but it's really helpful. They don't go badly. And we're always trying to figure out secrets for storing and making sure try to get vegetables and fruits to last longer. But here are vegetables that last, for instance: squash, beets, sweet potatoes, cabbage, carrots, onions, citrus fruits, garlic, Brussels sprouts, rutabaga, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, celery, turnips, bell peppers. These things last much, much longer than other things. Greens is probably one of the big challenges when we buy a big thing of mixed greens. Boy, you got to eat those fast because they can go in 2 or 3 days. Number 9, this kind of leads into the next one, which is store your foods properly. We just learned actually that if you store strawberries in a closed mason jar, that they last a lot longer, because their strawberries can go really quickly. They can
Weeks longer.
Yeah, weeks longer, as Jane is yelling from the other side of the room. This person in this picture clearly is a super organized person, but there are lots of different strategies for storing foods properly. Here's something that is just the kind of the basics. There's lots of information online, of course. Keep things cold, keep them low, try not to stack things on top of one another. Keep it dirty, don't wash it till you have to. Keep it whole, keep it breathing and unsealed, and eat as quickly as possible. These are just basics, but again, try to make those foods last a little bit longer. Strategy number 10, freezing foods before they go bad. I did not realize that you can actually freeze mushrooms. You can freeze nuts too. So this can be a real game changer as well. Avocados you can freeze, kale you can freeze. So do a little bit of research on what you can freeze. Jane just said tofu. Grapes are actually one of our favorite frozen food snacks. If you just take some grapes that are on the verge and not doing so well, and just pop them in the refrigerator, in the freezer, and then they are a great snack, especially on a hot day. Number 11, keep it simple. As I mentioned when we looked at the menu plan for the week: oats for breakfast, flats and leftovers for lunch, bowls, soups, and chilies and stews for dinner. And Jane and Ann are going to talk about this. And I showed that before. And then strategy number 12, don't drink your calories. You'll save a lot of money. You'll save at least $10 a day if you're not buying things like mochachinos and sodas and flavored juices and beer and wine. Just drink water, coffee and tea, and you will save money. Number 13, focus on the cheaper plant-based foods. I know that many of you are familiar with these, but if you look at this list here of just the sort of what you might call most popular vegetables in the United States, they're going to be a lot cheaper because obviously obviously stores are buying them in bulk, in large bulks. And so if you focus on those, potatoes is one of a perfect example. Potatoes are so cheap and they're such a powerhouse of nutrition, especially if you eat the skins, as Ann always reminds us. Number 14, all that money that you're going to save and following all these strategies, we would suggest that you invest in a handful of items that will help you save even more money. One of those things is something like an Instapot, where it just makes it so easy. You throw a bunch of things in. I know many of you probably are Instapot devotees. An air fryer, a good food processor, maybe a Yonana's machine, which is the frozen banana-based ice cream, and an immersion blender. So we would suggest those things because they really do help you save money and be more efficient. When we're talking about saving money, we could also talk about saving time. Last but not least, number 15, take advantage of certain stores. We are fans, as horrid as you can say Walmart might be. If you shop smartly, you can take advantage of all the great savings that you can get at a place because they are buying in bulk. We have an Aldi down the street, Sam's Club, of course, Costco, Market Basket, Trader Joe's, and I even put Whole Foods up there. I know that Whole Foods is often called whole paycheck, but if you shop in the bulk area to get your bulk items, they still have those bulk items in Whole Foods. You can save quite a bit of money. So also keep in mind the bank breakers. Keep in mind, I think the things that really cost us the most in our household are things like fresh berries, fresh greens, nuts, avocados. If we're not making our own hummus, we try to find Cedar's fat and oil-free hummus, but it can be expensive, and maybe an occasional treat like an Amy's roasted vegetable pizza without cheese. I know it's got a little oil in it, but again, just be aware that that's where you're going to really pile up the costs, and you want to try to do the best you can with those. Maybe think of them as not every single day or every other day, but things that you can see as treats. So my final thought is this. Here's a great quote. Being frugal doesn't mean slashing your spending or depriving yourself of things that you enjoy. It means knowing the value of $1 and making every effort to spend it wisely. That's really what being frugal is all about. So when we did our math, our final kind of math problem, once we tested it out, we found that Jane and I can eat for about $15 a day, and that's plenty. It's not where we're depriving ourselves at all. We're spending the most on dinner, but things like breakfast, if we're doing oatmeal for breakfast, maybe with frozen berries. And I mean, it's a great breakfast, but about $15 a day is not hard to do. And so I encourage you all to go out there, see what you can do, and how much money you can save. I'm sure many of you are much better at it than we are. But $15 a day is not difficult. All right. With that said, I'm about to switch the camera and we'll jump over to Ann and Jane and their budget-minded food demonstration. Now, just a quick introduction. Jane, Jane said no introduction. Well, I just want to give this one plug though, that Jane and Ann just published their most recent cookbook called Be a Plant-Based Women Warrior, and it's doing very well. And I think it even hit the New York Times bestseller list recently. So without saying anything else, let me switch the cameras and we'll jump right into their demonstration.
So wonderful. Well, and I got us so like rev excited to start cooking and doing our demo. I'm Ann. I'm Jane Esselstyn. And we are going to I'm a mother. We're often accused of being twins.
Hey, Ann and Jane, I was going to do a long introduction, but I'm just going to cut to the chase here.
Go ahead.
Ann is the grandmother of 10 plant-based grandchildren. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Jane is the mother of 3 of those. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And educational background, Ann's from Smith College and Jane's from University of Michigan, right? I'll leave it.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry,
That's right. Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We are just so excited to get going, and we're going to chat as we go along. And if you, I was going to make one comment to your comments, and that is what's so interesting is our grandchildren are all plant-based. But what's fascinating to me as they get older, they get more determined and strident about their plant-based eating. I mean, they are pushing it out there. It's amazing. Well, it really is the way forward for that generation. And I want to say thank you so much. Plant-based, Brian, help me out. Plant-based nutrition group organization of Wisconsin. People, wow. There's been so much Wisconsin love coming our way. Like you guys were voted state of the year by us because we've done stuff with I think 3 or 4 different organizations in the state in the cheesehead state that we can't believe it. Anyway, so today when you guys requested to do plant-based on a budget, we were a little bit like, oh, there's so many things we'd love to share and show, but being plant-based on a budget is fine. We can show a lot. It's just tighter and limited. So we hope that you come back for other things. Like we have an awesome breakfasts and desserts and dinners and big bowls and on and on and on. Where'd my mom go? Here's her. So we're going to start, and how we like to frame what we're about to do with you is we're going to do what's called oats, then flats, then bowls. Oats meaning breakfast, because we always have oats for many reasons, and then flats, which is an open-faced sandwich of your design, and then we're going to do bowls, which again is feasting on your design. Brian sort of talked about a few things there on our list of things that we eat in general. But all these things, the oats and the flats and the bowl, the primary principle is not a recipe. Yes, we write cookbooks and that's kind of our jam. And we have a YouTube channel that's all about recipes that we do. You can join us if you want. Brian can post the name of it if in case people don't know. It's just the Jane Esselstyn channel. Thank you, Brian. Is there a chat for this, Brian? Yeah. And we like to push not for recipes, but strategies, because the strategy is truly how you will eat the food within these guidelines. So Mommy, take it away. How do we start with
strategy? Also depends a whole lot on really understanding the principles that Brian spoke about, because once you get it, you don't need any recipes. You can figure it out. So I would like to show you a breakfast that my husband eats every day forever, and even his favorite dessert. And it starts with just plain oats. I mean, like oats out of the box, out of the bag. Here, they're oats out of the jar. And I'm going to put these steel cut, old-fashioned oats into this bowl.
Yes.
And then frozen fruit, as Brian told you, is fabulous. And you can put it straight frozen on top.
The way that he likes it.
And zap it if you choose in the microwave, or just let it sit for a while. It so happens, we took this out of the freezer
When we got ready for the demo, we get ready ahead of time.
so that it thawed.
Brian, can you see this?
Normally,
On the side view?
normally, in our demos, we use fresh,
red.
because it doesn't look so, unappealing in a way.
But
I
the
tell you-
advantage of this is all that juice adds to the sweetness of your.
So this is
Oh.
this is sort of a raspberry mix, and this here is a combination of frozen blueberries and a few frozen cherries. And so
Dark sweet cherries.
oh my gosh, I mean, this right here
Do you add
is
some banana?
stunningly good, but I, as you can see, if I had put, it still looks just as good as if they were fresh. So. it's
Brian, you want
great.
banana on it?
No thanks.
Oh, Brian's gonna eat it later. because he
We
said
all
no
eat different
bananas.
parts of our demos, and so, okay, adding a banana, I want to talk about on a budget. So your frozen fruit choices on there are very cheap. You just keep that frozen bag in the fridge, or freezer, and use it as needed. Even keep a little scoop in there. If you want to, bananas are as cheap as 19 cents in some stores, especially Trader Joe's, and you can just use half of it, all of it, save the other half for later on.
And let me say, these frozen cherries. Brian mentioned how you can freeze grapes and they're so satisfying. Well, a few of these frozen cherries are made, they are so sweet, so delicious, and they are wonderful in here. And even if you have grapes, leftover grapes, they are really good on top of oats.
Can we talk about strawberries also?
Mhm.
This is our jar of strawberries. We've had this in the fridge for way longer than any of our, the produce plastic things. And it's like a little terrarium. This is awesome to keep your fresh strawberries fresh. It's a sort of a pro move, not necessarily a budget, but it does help save money if you're not going to get to all your strawberries right away. I'm gonna get them back in the fridge.
And now I'm gonna put a tablespoon of flaxseed meal here. And that is really important for your omega-3.
As you guys mentioned.
And yes, and I actually normally might have put it on first just because it isn't buried. I think it's on top. But now I'm gonna put an alternative milk and
Non-dairy milk.
non-dairy milk. And the one that we recommended highest
Is an almond milk, because almond milk is the cheapest of the ones that we can find when we look at Aldi's, Trader Joe's, and our local store, Giant Eagle, which is like a Kroger. That's about $9.19 for a half gallon. If you want to go for a full gallon, some places are actually a little cheaper than that.
But
So
whatever
your-
you
Your
choose
choice,
on these milks that are not
non-dairy.
that are non-dairy, read the ingredients, because you are going to be shocked at how much junk can be, oil and sugar can be in some of them.
For example, the second ingredient in rice milk and cashew milk, and
It's oil.
it's oil. You don't want to be oiling your.
And
your
a lot
breakfast,
of
and
the
just brutal calories.
the silks have got things added. So read ingredients. Because
Some of the silks are good though.
we thought we had the almond milk and we didn't. I'm
Yeah.
gonna put on here some oat milk, which is a little bit more expensive.
We stacked these things like cordwood on one of our shelves, and I thought I saw that we had an almond milk color, but we didn't.
Please note, I am putting in, I've got a drip. There's a funny drip in this. Anyway,
Dripping.
a drip. It's a drippy container. So this is going to be, I can guarantee you that Ryan is going to eat this before the end of this demo. So I'm gonna. put
Birthday
it up
boy can do
here.
whatever he'd like. Here, dripping that. So the next thing I want to do is another way that we have oats. And if you have steel cut oats, this is a great way to do it. Steel cut oats are what we recommend because any kind of oats get in your body because it decreases inflammation, it levels out your blood sugar level, it stays in your belly for a long time. It's responsive in reducing your cholesterol. It's just a wonder. So this is called banana bread oatmeal. So we have steel cut oats And I like to have a 3-to-1 ratio of water to steel cut oats. Can you fill that up for me? So this was a half a cup of steel cut oats in here. And I like to have a cup and a half of water to go with it. If you like your oatmeal thicker, add less water. If you like it a little more runny, add more. And in this goes. So what's so cool about this demo is there's no laundry, no dishes afterwards. This is so clean in my eyes. This is so clean in my eyes. We're gonna add a banana, and I've been playing with the banana, squishing it up in its own skin. I'm not gonna get out a cutting board and get little bits of banana sweetness on there and get fruit flies and blah blah blah. I'm just gonna put this banana, just squished up banana, drop it right in, and in this goes to my compost pile. And again, no laundry, on a budget, budgeting your time and your cleaning hours in the kitchen. This is vanilla, because to the oats and the water and the banana, add a little bit of that sense of baking and that good smell of, something that's like banana bread in the kitchen. I put about a capful. And then this is cinnamon. If you like cinnamon, or if you like cardamom, or if you like nutmeg, what else would go into banana bread? Cardamom, cinnamon.
Just, it would be even good if you didn't put anything in.
And
But just the
spices,
banana.
spices are
Still
good
good.
to use on a budget, because spices, a little goes a long way. You can get so much flavor from using spices that you like. And cinnamon is one that I love in this. So I'm gonna add, this is blackseed meal. Flaxseed and chia are two great ways to get your omega-3s. This is a cheaper way to get it. You can get it ground up, and I have it written down somewhere. I have my little list of how much things are, but I'm not gonna spend time trying to find it. I think it's like 10 cents a tablespoon when it comes down to it. I usually add it after I cook it, but we're gonna be busy with other things, so I'm gonna add it right now. And people will get mad at me because they say, oh, it loses its omega-3 effectiveness. I know, but I'm gonna have this have gone in there, and I'm gonna forget about it at the end of the demo by then. Okay, so we've done. Oh, I'm gonna turn my stove
We've
on.
done 2 delicious breakfasts that are really simple, that don't take a recipe. You can put what you want from my oats and.
And I have
berries.
nothing to clean up. So the next thing we want to go to is our flats, which is the open faced sandwiches. And again, we're talking strategy. What you have, what you're gonna like to eat, what you're gonna want to eat. So what do you have there, Ann?
So I am going to do something for lunch with, I'm going to use some of Dave's bread, and I happen to personally, I love this bread. And this happens to be the 70 thin slice sprouted whole grain bread. Jane, you have a price on this.
Yeah, well, I found this at Aldi's, and it didn't have the same name, but it had the same font and colors, and they had like a different name for it. And what was pretty amazing is that it was so much cheaper at Aldi's than it was at the other stores I've mentioned. It was like $3.99 for a bag of bread, and that's about 20 pieces. So someone who's at $4 divided by 20, that's 400 divided by 20. That's a really easy number. 20 cents a piece of bread or something. I could have it totally wrong. I would like to do my zeros on a piece of paper. All right, so here we go with open face sandwich. We're having 2
Right.
sandwiches. Go, mommy, go.
So I'm going to start this sandwich with some hummus. And you can find, Jane, you'll have to talk about the different prices of hummus and where, but this happens to be Amir's classic hummus. We like to have you find hummus that does not have any oil in it. And if you have heart disease, you can also find some without tahini. However, it's so easy to make your own.
It is, and it's cheap, but you have to have a high-speed blender or some sort of something that's strong enough to crush up those chickpeas. Because it's chickpeas, lemon, and garlic mixed in with some water, or use the aquafaba, which is the bean liquid in the can. It adds a little body, a little oomph. You can have a little mustard. You can add whatever you'd like. I mean, we have so many different. We have a section. I wish I could have called it the hummi section, because there's the plural of hummus should be hummi. We've got lemon hummus, smoky hickory house hummus, no, hickory smokehouse hummus, black bean hummus, barbecue hummus, roasted garlic hummus, on and on and on hummus, but this is regular hummus. And there's a little bit of tahini classically in hummus, which is ground up chickpeas. For heart disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, we like to have people steer clear of all those extra added fats in the food. If you can't find it, your dollar is your vote. Please ask for it, request it, and see if they can get some. But some companies do make it. Cedars, CEDAR. Cedars makes a no added oil and no added tahini hummus. Go ahead.
So-
I interrupted you.
I count on you interrupting, please. So I want to start, now, one of my goals in having us be eating plant-based is to get as much variety and as much color, as you heard earlier in that talk. The color is so important. And so I am going to start out with some green onions and just put those on here. And then on top of that, I meant to put a little cilantro or parsley, but
Oh, I've got some basil.
okay, a little basil, that would be
This is
nice.
a great way to also save a lot of money on your herbs, because we have our store occasionally sells basil, not just cut up, but they sell like a little bit of dirt with it. I run home as fast as I can and I put it into a pot of dirt, and then you have fresh basil, and it kind of, got some new growth going. So just grow your own basil all year round, put it in the window. Oh, it smells amazing. Brian, you picking up on the scent?
Yes.
Oh, yummy, yummy.
So I'm gonna put a little basil in there, and then I'm gonna put in a little, I put this everywhere. This is chopped red cabbage. And
Purple cabbage, I think it's
purple
also called.
cabbage, well, and red or purple. And look already, I mean, isn't this beautiful? The colors in here are just spectacular.
Your microbiome is so psyched to have that much color and
that-
fiber.
I am gonna put a little bit of red chopped peppers.
Bell pepper.
A bell pepper, or you can get anyway, and they are not terribly expensive and they last quite a long time. So that so far is looking lovely.
You can make
And
that one, or you're gonna,
No, I'm gonna,
here's a basil leaf for the other one.
okay. Then I grow my own broccoli sprouts, and it is so economical to do that. And I tell you, the thing about growing your own sprouts is it increases the nutrient levels. It makes it easier to digest, and it increases the fiber of whatever you're eating. And so go for it. And so in every sandwich, I always, and soup everywhere, I put some of these sprouts in. And then I always like to have some kind of greens. Now, arugula is especially powerful. And Jane, do you have a price on arugula?
Yes, arugula, we found it in, sometimes greens come in the plastic boxes or bags. And we eat so much of it that we're looked for bags that are having the most volume for the cheapest amount. And the best we have found is $2.29 for a 7-ounce bag. Frozen spinach. You can buy blocks of that stuff for just here.
Oh, yeah, give the spinach for.
Frozen chopped spinach, $1 for a huge bag of it at Aldi's. I mean, that is, if you need greens and you just don't like arugula and you don't want to bother with the fresh stuff, and we've got big containers of spring greens, because that's where we honestly spend our money, is on greens and occasionally avocados and different kinds of nuts.
Now,
No meat, no dairy.
Speaking of avocado,
Oh, should I put some?
Here.
Use every bit of your citrus,
Oh, yeah.
your oranges, your limes, your lemons.
and there's
Use it.
nothing as powerful as this, just the peel of all of this fruit. Whether it's lemon or lime or orange.
The zest is just key.
Grapefruit, I mean. use
Zest,
the
zest. And as Brian said earlier, how we like to eat the skin of all our potatoes. We also want to get the skin, the hide off of our citrus, because that's where so much life and love and flavor. I mean, this is like, that fresh basil, that fresh zest.
Now, I'm gonna put a little lemon, and you can do this or not, but I like to have a little lemon right now. And then on the top of this open face sandwich, I am gonna put
Again, strategy. Look at her.
Cucumber.
She's
Now,
stacking it up.
this cucumber cost 89 cents today. And I can get,
This mustard on the back of it.
oh, yeah, mustard in that. And eight, which mustard?
Well, this yellow mustard is, $1.29.
Mustard is amazing because it lasts forever and it's always there.
Lives in
And
your
if you
door.
just put a little dab of mustard underneath
It's like mortar.
each cucumber, just a little dab. And then I unfortunately, I live next door. And I was so organized tonight in what I brought, but I forgot to bring my lemon pepper, which I always put
Oh, I
on
will look
top.
for, I will.
And I looked, I didn't see it. But you
So-
can see, this is just part of a cucumber. And there would be enough for probably 4 sandwiches like this, maybe even 5 in this cucumber. And I would put the lemon pepper and another squeeze of lemon on top.
Here's my lemon pepper.
Oh, you have.
Sometimes we use it above a steaming pot and it turns solid, so I'm just
I'm dealing with, good at dealing with,
solidified.
look at that.
Oh,
Now. The
green
reason,
onions, basil, red pepper.
and then you can take a knife and cut it. What's so cool is you could cut this into 4. Don't do that yet, because I want to show that if you are traveling, if you have to make a lunch, then just put a lid on it. So you can have it open faced or lidded.
And the reason we don't want you to lid it necessarily
But I
is
mean,
if you want to have more sandwich, have another sandwich filled with all the vegetable.
right,
Again, I was trying to list it all, and you have green onions, basil, purple cabbage, red pepper, arugula, cucumber, mustard, lemon zest, lemon juice, lemon pepper, and
it doesn't look as pretty.
I should make
I'm-
2 heaping. Okay, cut it and whatever. Do what you like with it. Okay, another
But you
tip.
understand, we prefer open face, but sometimes it's not possible. So I just am showing you the possibility that you can just change that open face into this or not.
So open face sandwiches kind of refer to lunch, and it is a great way that we want to promote vegetables and doing some sort of strategic move for your lunch. Another strategic move is really to take your leftovers. And I'm showing you how we walk our talk. This is some whole wheat pasta and some of our red sauce. We have spinach and mushrooms and kale. It's got a whole, you probably can't see all the veggies in the sauce, and red peppers, everything kind of blending in. This will be lunch for someone tomorrow.
I can guarantee you that it's probably lunch for Jane.
Aha. So just pack it up, make it look pretty. That didn't look totally pretty, but it looked pretty to me. Okay, so we're gonna move on now to our next category, which is the bowls. We did the oats. And there's different ways you can have your oats. Obviously, these are our strategies. Flats and leftovers for lunch, those are our strategies. And for dinner, we love bowls. And I know bowls have become wildly popular all over the place for plenty of reasons. And we're gonna do 3 different bowls. We're gonna do a bowl. All of our bowls have a foundation of greens. Some sort of, greens that are spring greens, arugula, romaine. You can have beet greens or beets themselves, any kind of greens. Just get your greens in that bowl. So we put our greens down, and then we're going to do a bowl with brown rice and tofu or tempeh. Do that right now. We're going to do a bowl with greens and a sweet potato and lots of toppings. And we're going to do a bowl with the sort of more of a Mexican profile and its flavor with brown rice and black beans and some other things. Okay, so quickly out of the gate here, I want to get going on the bowl that's going to have arugula on the bottom. And then we're going to put, this is our rice cooker. Then we drive this thing like, I don't know any NASCAR drivers these days, but we drive it like a NASCAR driver. We drive it all the time, drive it hard. We use it, we fill it up. Okay. So we have our greens and we have our, this jasmine brown rice. Don't ever get jasmine white because they have a jasmine brown. We're going to add some great stuff to this. We can do, we want to show you guys a really simple, just we can bake it with a soy sauce. So we call it tamari. It's in the wind. We'll put it there. Is that okay, Brian? We move this to the side, things to the sides.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna make a little teriyaki sauce, or we can just do a simple soy sauce. If we want to be on a budget, We can just use soy sauce, put it in our bowl. Again, this is a strategic kind of recipe. You do about
We've got
half a
about
cup,
10 minutes.
yeah, half a cup of soy sauce roughly, enough to kind of cover your stuff. And you can just do that. And then you can add your tempeh or your tofu. You guys all know what tofu looks like, I'm sure. Tofu is just a big block of, I'm sure you've all seen tofu. Tofu is wonderful, it's your friend. Tempeh, we see less often. It's this sort of cake. It's less processed, believe it or not, than tofu. You can see the soybeans in it still. So I've taken one of these cakes of tempeh and I've put it into cubes. So we're gonna put this in just our tamari if you want to be on a budget. If you have a little more funding and you can afford it, you can make this into a teriyaki sauce that is one of our family's favorites. You add, and teriyaki means to cook with luster, so luster means it has a little sweetness. Classically, it's used, sugar is used, so we're gonna add a little bit of maple syrup, like maybe a quarter cup, but half as much as, that's probably a quarter cup. Again, I'm really being strategic, so just soy sauce, and then half as much of that with the sweetener. And then if you have tomato paste, great. Tomato paste comes in a toothpaste tube, which is awesome. We have just recently run out, but you can also use ketchup. So you do about 3 tablespoons of that. 1, 2, 3. And then add some minced ginger, ginger, fresh ginger root. I didn't want to spend our time chopping for you guys, so I minced it up right there. Stir it up. This is a teriyaki sauce. Again, those 4 things I've added are really simple. Soy sauce, half as much maple syrup, and then a little over half as much tomato paste or ketchup. And then I think I had like a tablespoon of ginger. So it smells great. You can taste it and like, it needs a little more. This needs a little more. I make it so often. I know it needs a little more tamari, a little more savory. So in it goes. And if I had tofu going in right now, with tofu, we bake it because tofu has so much moisture in it. We don't mind baking it. And if you have sesame seeds, this just makes it look really pretty. Again, it's not needed. It's really just kind of a pretty thing to add on top, a little sprinkle on top. So this is our teriyaki sauce with tempeh in it. I want to tell you what tofu looks like. If this was tofu, we put it in a sheet pan and bake it. This is what it looks like. We baked this before our demo. This is our sheet pan of teriyaki tofu. We could put this right now on here and call it a day. We're done, but I want to show you guys how we cook tempeh. So half that's going to be
As she
tofu.
goes by, I need to tell you that it's very good.
So I'm going to take this behind me and I'm going to cook this and can set the side for a second so you can see. And I'm just going to put this on this pan. And what's going to happen is all the teriyaki is going to cook onto the tempeh cubes and it's ready to go. So while I'm cooking this, Ann's going to move on with her strategic bowl.
This is an easy recipe. You've got a sweet potato. I happen to have a garnet one that I wrapped in tin foil and I cooked in the oven at 350 for about 2 hours. But by doing that, it is so tender, so juicy. Look at all the liquid in here. Oh my gosh. Or you can just cook it for about 8 minutes in the microwave, which is very simple, but it's not quite as amazingly delicious. And then I'm going to cut this sweet potato in half. It's just falling apart. It's so luscious. Oh, it makes my mouth water. And boy, when you eat this, you notice I have all these greens. You can be any kind of greens around it. You're going to make sure to try and eat the skin. And then on top of this, I'm going to put, Jane, where did you put the beans?
The beans are in the red bowl.
I just took a can of black beans, rinsed it under hot water.
Remove the tin foil.
What?
Thank you.
Oh, rinsed it under hot water, and I'm gonna put some black beans here. You can put as many as you want. More than this, I'm just putting a few. I'm gonna remember, I want to get as much color in, so I'm gonna put some green onions. I happen to have some red pepper left, so I'm gonna put some of that on. And of course, why not? I happen to have more of this wonderful purple cabbage, putting some of that on. And I'm not done yet.
Not done yet.
Because I love to use fresh mango, but that is really more expensive. And you can get frozen mango and cut it into smaller little pieces. And put some frozen mango on top. And I tell you, this is a simple, gloriously delicious dish. And then on top of all of that, I'm gonna put some lime juice. And this lime juice does something perfectly astounding to make this so good. So here you have another easy thing that you can top with anything you like. Or nothing, just eat the sweet potato plain if that's your choice, including skin.
And what's so great about adding the mango and the red pepper and the lemon on top is that you're really getting that vitamin C in with your meal. And as you all know, that helps mobilize iron in the blood. Just people often say, oh, I was so anemic when I went plant-based. Well, there's a way that you can really combat that and by combining some of your food choices.
I have a little bit of this. I'm gonna put
Perfect.
some of this right on top.
Oh. Okay, I'm coming in with the tempeh. Look how luscious this looks. Can you see it sizzling?
Oh, Jane.
So yummy, yummy, yummy. And so all that sauce is clinging onto this tempeh.
Hold it a second.
And it's all the sauce is clinging. It's no longer sizzling, but it's clinging. And what's nice is there's a little bit of fluid still in the pan. So
I
when
could
you
mention that it's
how's it
really
taste?
good, hot.
So with some of the sauce, we can put some extra sauce here on top too.
Yeah.
Can you get that cool saucy move? Our dog, for some reason, is playing with his chew toy right now. Squeaking in the corner. Sorry about that.
I take 4 minutes.
Okay, we're kicking it in the goal right now. So we have one last bowl we're gonna make. And this is one that we think uses a lot of the principles that Brian talked about. We're using romaine, which is one of those long lasting greens. You might have 3 heads of romaine in your fridge and you pull one out and you think, oh, this is gone. Peel off her outer layers, her inner beauty is still there. But this is sort of a Mexican profile meal. And what we're going to do is we're going to build either soft tacos or tostados. Tostados, we just took these soft tacos. You find there's how many's in here? There's I don't even know, 60, 80, 30, there's a 30 count. And this costs $1.20. And that's pennies per individual tortilla. So we're gonna get some rice. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna build our soft taco night with everything we have. And oh, I forgot my salsa. The fridge door is not occupied. So salsa. My salsa. Did we eat all of our salsa? Maybe we did. I can't find our salsa. Oh, there it is. Looking right at me. Okay, so let's make a soft taco. What we're gonna do is just gonna add in first a little bit of, this is refried beans, and the refried bean can here. This is La Preferata. There's another brand that makes an even cheaper one and cleaner one than this, but only had Old El Paso only had the no fat added refried beans today went to the store. So La Preferata, I'm not saying it right, but someone will know what I'm talking about. We add in some refried beans. This is just smashed pinto beans. And to this, you can add black beans, add some rice. You can leave the rice on the side, however you want to do it. I'm going to put it all in here because you can. And then I just have little bits of, I have like little nubs of red pepper, yellow pepper, and some romaine. You open that, please? And we could put some lime on top here too. And you just shoot some in here. There we go. This is a wonderful soft taco. So you can do that. Is that lime?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, here, go. Sorry. So lime, it was lime. It was spirit of lime. And I'm gonna have that sort of be propped up with this. And if we did a tostado, it's really the same thing. Just put on whatever you want, whatever order you want. I'm just putting on this as kind of mortar on the bottom, and then adding some beans on top of that. Add a little bit of rice, just thawing it right now. Some peppers and some greens and some, can I please have that? We're so used to cleaning up. On to the next. And so you can just fill your plate with, and again, this these crispy, crack that in half on. And then give a crunch for the camera.
Am I out?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, so these are crispy. All I did was I took these soft tacos again for 30 for $1, 3 cents each. Gosh. Toasted it until it got crisp like that. You could break these into chips and just mix this all together and just shovel it with the chips, or eat it like a tostado. Again, your choice. But all these are really reasonable and not so pricey. So up we go with all of our items, and here are 3 bowls: sweet potato, sort of Mexican profile, Asian profile, teriyaki tofu, and tempeh tofu. We've got our no cook oats, and here's the, oh my gosh, I should have asked you to tell me when you saw smoke coming up. My banana, my toasted banana bread. It smells a little toasty. Actually, it looks perfect. Steel cut oats can cook for up to 30 minutes, and that's kind of what we just did. Right, can you see that, Brian?
Yep.
Yummy, yummy. All right, I just put a little. Woo! Thank you, Plant-Based Nutrition of Wisconsin. So wonderful.
Asking for questions.
Do you have any questions? Because we have a moment to take maybe one or
Yeah,
two.
we do. Thank you so much. That was outstanding. You really pumped out a lot of good food, and I am so hungry now.
And colorful.
And colorful.
Uh-huh.
And the toasting that you did on that tortilla, was that in the oven or in a air fryer?
Oven or toaster, just a hot place.
But watch it because it's so easy to burn them.
Yeah,
Oh, very well burnt.
yeah, but perfect,
And the
perfectly
oven's
done.
like 350 is really enough.
It's just so great. It's like a little chip. Best.
So we try to end at 7:30, so we're a little bit over here. And thank you for all this. So we may have very little time here for questions. But you guys did an outstanding job. And Brian, thank you for your presentation too. But Ann and Jane, holy mackerel, that's a lot of great food at very reasonable prices, it sounds like.
Yep. But we've got way more demos to do that have more Shazam. This is our basic framework. So we hope to connect with you guys again. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
we had a lot of Shazam today.
We did, but we can bring in more.
No, we hope to connect again. And I can tell by the comments that were in the chat box there are a lot of people who have a lot of interest in this. But I apologize, everybody. We have to close down here. Thank you so much to Ann and Jane.
Thank you.
And thank you, Brian. Thank you, Dr. Lieberman. As a quick reminder, our next monthly meeting is Thursday, January 12th at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Central Time. Our featured speaker will be Maryland physician, Dr. Jyoti Rao. If you'd like to receive notice of this or other upcoming PB Now events and are not currently on our list, you can register on our website at pbnow.org. In Google, click the white button for learn more and register. And if you'd like to check out our past meetings, go to our website and go to the library section, and you can click on that and scroll through those. This will probably be up within the next week, hopefully, and I'll be going through it again. So thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. And once again, thanks, Ann and Jane and Brian.